Well, we would probably be amiss if we didn't talk about some of the pitfalls. So Ian and I are going to talk a little bit about that, okay? But we don't want to spend too much time here because the reality is if you do all the other stuff, you're going to have a lot less of these. Usually when people lead with the house and not the plan, that's when this stuff pops up a lot more. Now, we've talked a lot about the why and your purpose, and we've talked a lot about the how. The what we've all decided is rental property investing within the buy box criteria, which is a single family home on about 1/6 of an acre of a lot, preferably a 6-foot wood privacy fence or the ability to put one in there. A 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, about 1,700 square feet, plus or minus 200 square feet, in a good schools at least area, and 20 years or newer is a goal. That's our buy box criteria for property number 1, if you can do that. So let's go back to principle number 1, KISS. Keep it a simple solution. Okay? That's what we really want to focus on. Keep it simple. And the keep it simple, we said, is our buy box criteria. We define our buy box criteria. I totally understand that that buy box criteria is not going to work for every market. That is what we have taught here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But I don't honestly know what the market is like in Michigan or Tempe or Reno or other cities and states. So the professional in that area will lead you and help mold and shape what the buy box criteria for that area is. And you're going to qualify that, you're going to validate that, and you're going to make sure they're a good leader and they can show you validation to support their claim. How you're going to do that is a lot of different ways to go about it. We've explained a few and how to qualify your agent. And that usually goes back again to experience and expertise. But just make sure whatever the buy box criteria is, keep it focused and build a plan around that. You can adjust and grow as you grow as an entrepreneur in real estate investing. We always have a plan, like we said. That's the whole point of this e-course, is to build a plan. But as Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I mean, nothing's foolproof, right? Let's be honest. It just could still go unexpected. And to some degree, it will. How would you know? You've never done this before. How could you even begin to set your real expectations? Everything we've taught you already in this e-course will help prep you and set you up much better than your peers who don't take advice and leadership like this. I can assure you that. But that's not going to mean it will go perfect. Let's just remove the word perfect from our vocabulary right now. Okay? Okay, did you do it? Okay, it's gone, right? The word perfect is completely gone. It doesn't exist ever again. It will have unexpected things, but the point is that you get up and you never bet the farm, so you never lose. All right? Remember that reserve account we talked about? That's what helps you get through the unexpected. It just does. That alone will pretty much solve everything that goes unexpected. So it's not what happens, it's just simply how you respond. And trust me, nothing is worth your marriage. Nothing. Okay? No matter what. So never, ever, ever, ever let anything risk that. Accept, adapt, and overcome. That's what Ian always says, and he's taught me so much about that. Get into acceptance in alignment with the truth as soon as you can. You don't always have to attach emotions around it. Just step into acceptance and look at it even like, that's interesting. That happened. What's the lesson I'm supposed to learn from that? Okay? Just look at it in a different way. It's not what happens to you, it's what happens for you. And it truly is a mind shift, and everything changes because of that. So once you accept it, you can quickly adapt, and then you can overcome. And remember, you're not betting the farm, like we talked about, so you're going to be able to overcome pretty much anything. My biggest advice, and if I could do this all over again, would truly be to enjoy the ride. and celebrate the victories. We're so easy to beat ourselves up. There's no need for that. Life is short. It can be excellent and it can be great. So always celebrate the victories. And the key to getting ahead is getting started.
When you're looking at a house, we always look at the 7 major systems, 7 major areas of construction. Okay? You're going to go with the foundation, right? Foundation needs to be solid, or at least have some type of foundation work potentially that has been done and warranted and has a lifetime warranty, transferable. Because we have a saying in North Texas, it's not a matter of if you're going to need foundation work, but when are you going to need foundation work? North Texas is notorious for having some pretty volatile soil. Second, roof. Roof is a very important part of the house. Okay? The newer it is, the better it is. The better the materials, the better it is. It also, it'll determine whether you have a higher insurance premium. If the house can actually be insured. It's very important. Okay? Plumbing is a big part of it. Electrical, right? What kind of electrical system? Does it have an older Federal Pacific Electric, or does it have a Square D, General Electric? These are things to really consider, and your inspector will give you, all this information in their inspection. Another thing is HVAC, right? You're living in Texas. Guess what? In Texas, it's hot, but we do think that it's very important to have an operating HVAC system. Obviously, the newer the better. If it's still warranted, that's excellent. Okay. Another big deal, I would say, considering that I've had a property that had issues with this, is grading and drainage. You want to make sure, and by grading and drainage, I mean the way the house slopes, so how the water filters away from the property. Gutters are very important in this. We always recommend, if the house doesn't have gutters, get gutters on that house as soon as possible. Because maintaining the foundation, maintaining the roof, maintaining the electrical, the plumbing, and age of plumbing is very important. Some houses in the DFW area are pretty old, all right? Built in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and they used a lot of cast iron. So that's one thing to be considerate of. It's not going to be the end of it, or the end all be all. If it has plumbing walk away, that's not the case. If it has cast iron plumbing, that's not the end all. It's just something to consider. Plumbing, I would actually add in the water heater. It's kind of important to know the age of that, but it's probably one of the lowest cost items in that stream of things. The fence, very important. Fence could be costly. But as long as those 7 major systems in this property are in good shape or relatively easy to fix or repair at a small cost, then we say all the other stuff is part of being a homeowner. Okay? Inspections will definitely help, and we always recommend getting an inspection. If it's an older property, say if it's older than 15, 20 years, if you decide to go that route, we always recommend also having a plumbing scope. Have a licensed plumber, not an inspector, a licensed plumber. If the inspector says, hey, I think there might be a risk that there is some issue with the plumbing, it's always better to err on the side of caution. Because one of the biggest things is, if you buy this house, when you could have spent a few $100s to get a plumbing scope, right, and you have a crack in a pipe that you find out after you've closed, you're going to regret not doing that in the first place. The newer you buy, the better. One thing we always like to do when considering buying, always add at least 10% buffer for things to go unexpected or things to go wrong or, quote, to come back a little different once they start to work. Because once you start working on a property, you start opening up things. There could be things that you weren't expecting, but having that 10% buffer, that will definitely help you get past those issues that unexpectedly come up. So you need to prepare yourself for things to go wrong. How will you if they don't, right? If they don't go wrong, that's great, right? But part of being a rental investor is being prepared for things to fail. But we say fail forward, right? Because you're always moving forward. What you definitely need to do is enjoy the ride. And until you give up, you haven't failed. So never think of yourself as a failure when you're doing rental investing. It's always move forward. fail forward, fall forward, because you always want to be moving forward. Play the long game, because it's very important that you understand that this is not, in the strategy that we teach and coach, it's not something you're going to do fast. You're not going to expect to get this lottery winning right off the bat, right? 99% chance you will get rich slow. And we love that.